In 1963, when Alcatraz prison officially shut down, they said every single inmate had been transferred out. But one cell, cell block D, cell 14D, has no record to this day. No official document contains the name of the prisoner who stayed there. No transfer papers, no release forms, nothing. But anyone who goes near that cell says the same thing. I feel like someone is watching me. And once you hear this story, you'll understand why even the most experienced guards refuse to walk that hallway alone. This happened in the winter of 1962. Alcatraz Island, sitting in the middle of San Francisco Bay, was America's strictest federal prison. It was designed for no escape, freezing water, brutal currents, and shark-infested waters surrounding it on all sides. In its entire history, no prisoner had ever successfully escaped and survived. The water temperature alone was enough to kill a man within an hour. At that time, there was a prisoner in cell block D named Marcus Hale. He was serving a life sentence for a double murder. But after arriving at the prison, Marcus was different from the rest. He never spoke, never made eye contact with anyone, never even reacted to the other inmates taunting him. The guards used to say something is missing in his eyes, like his soul is somewhere else entirely. Some of the older guards claimed Marcus used to mutter things at night, alone in his cell, as if he were having a conversation with someone. But no one else was ever there. Marcus was eventually placed in solitary confinement, cell 14D, on the lowest floor where sunlight never reached and where the only sound was the constant drip of water from the bay, seeping through the old concrete. One night in February 1963, night guard Thomas Riley was on duty. He had worked at Alcatraz for nearly 6 years and thought he had seen everything the prison could offer. During his usual rounds, he heard a sound coming from cell 14D, a scratching sound, like nails dragging across stone, slow and deliberate. Thomas walked up to the cell and shone his flashlight in. Marcus was sitting there, facing the wall, scratching something into the stone with his bare hand. Blood was visible on his fingertips, but he didn't seem to notice or care. "Hale, what are you doing?" Thomas asked, his voice echoing down the empty corridor. Marcus didn't answer at first. Then slowly, unnervingly slowly, he turned around, his face completely pale, almost gray, his eyes empty like glass. He said just one line in a voice that didn't sound entirely like his own. "He's calling me." Thomas felt a chill crawl up his spine, but brushed it off, assuming it was just prisoner madness. Solitary confinement was known to break men's minds. He continued his rounds, though he admitted later he couldn't shake the feeling of being watched the rest of that night. The next morning, when the breakfast cart came around and the guard went to open cell 14D, Marcus wasn't there. The cell had been locked the entire night. Every guard on shift confirmed no one had opened it. There was no way out, no tunnel, no broken bars, nothing. But Marcus had simply vanished. Prison authorities launched a full search of the island, checking every inch of Alcatraz, from the water towers to the old industrial buildings. But Marcus was never found anywhere. Escape was supposed to be impossible. The ocean currents around the island moved at nearly the speed of a man swimming, and sharks patrolled the surrounding waters. Officially, the case was closed as an unsolved disappearance, a rare blemish on Alcatraz's otherwise perfect record of containment. But the scratch marks on the wall of cell 14D formed a message that investigators could never fully decode. The symbols looked random at first glance, but forensic experts who studied them noted one pattern, kept repeating, something shaped like a gate or a doorway over and over across the entire wall, as if Marcus had been trying to carve his way into somewhere else entirely. Some of the older staff whispered that Marcus hadn't escaped at all, that something had taken him. Others said he had simply gone mad and hidden himself somewhere in the walls, never to resurface. Either way, the cell block was sealed off shortly after, and when Alcatraz officially closed as a federal prison in 1963, cell 14D was left out of every official record, as if that cell and the man who once lived in it never existed at all. Today, Alcatraz is a museum, visited by thousands of tourists daily, who walk through the very same corridors where Marcus once sat in silence. But night staff and security guards who work after the tourists leave say that one section of cell block D officially marked as closed for renovation, gives people strange, unexplainable experiences. One night security guard named Daniel, who had worked there for just under a year, said that during a routine patrol, he heard that same scratching sound coming from cell block D, exactly as described in the old prison files he'd read during training. He turned his flashlight toward the sound, but saw nothing, just an empty, dark cell. Shaking it off as an old building settling, he continued his patrol. But when he checked the CCTV footage the next morning, sitting alone in the security office with his coffee, the footage showed something that made his blood run cold. A figure, dressed in an old prison uniform, standing perfectly still, facing the wall inside cell 14D. As Daniel zoomed in with trembling hands, the figure slowly turned its head toward the camera, toward him. There were no eyes in its face, just an empty, dark space where the eyes should have been, like two holes leading into nothing. Daniel quit that job the following week. He told his supervisor he didn't need the money that badly. Ghost hunters, drawn by the stories that had begun circulating online, later tried to explore cell 14D themselves. One group placed an EVP recorder inside the cell overnight, a device designed to capture paranormal voices outside the range of normal human hearing. When they reviewed the recording the next day, a faint, raspy voice came through, barely audible over the static. "Get me out of here. He's calling me." The exact same words Marcus had spoken over 60 years earlier. Right after that phrase was captured, the recorder shut off on its own. When the team checked the batteries, they were completely drained, fully charged just hours before, something none of them could ever explain, despite testing the same device dozens of times afterward without issue. Even today, official Alcatraz tour guides don't take visitors into that section of cell block D officially. They say it's closed due to structural damage from decades of exposure to the bay's salt air. But anyone who manages to get near it at night, whether staff, researcher, or curious visitor, tends to confirm one unsettling thing. Something is still there, still scratching at the walls, still trying to escape that cell. So next time you visit Alcatraz and you walk past that sealed-off section of cell block D, take one long look toward the darkness at the end of the hallway, because they say Marcus Hale is still there, still waiting, still listening for whatever it was that called him that night in 1963. And if you stand there too long, he might just call you next.